Disney has been taking many L lately. Strange World and Lightyear both lost money. Strange World lost $152 million. And Lightyear lost $106 million, all while Super Mario Brothers is well over, by now on Monday, $700 million total only in its second week and is going to surpass $1 billion easily. Why do you think that is, Mary?
It says, yeah, it's second just to Minions Rise of Gru. Well, Universal has been outpacing Disney for a while now.
Yeah. From DCNC.
Said Billy Joel, we didn't start the fire. Lyrics describe boomer issues.
Do you think that's true? I push back.
Meaning what?
I push back on the people that blame boomers for everything, even if I think they're right most of the time, because I just like I say, everyone should have the decency to complain in silence, to suffer in silence.
Right.
I'm half kidding. I'm obviously kidding here because my job is to complain here. But I'm saying, like, when everybody complains,
it's about dignity.
Yeah. When everybody complains about the housing market, and they're right, they're 110% right. I'm still just like, I get it. It sucks for all of us. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it doesn't suck for the boomers that much.
No, I'm saying for everyone else.
Yes.
It does suck for everyone else. I'm just like, I get annoyed because a lot of people, they just complain about everything.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, which we're, of course, doing right now. We're complaining about stuff. So
exactly.
We are hypocrites.
Anyway, sorry. So I think that this is because Universal has been putting a lot more thought into their animated movies. I saw Puss in Boots, and honestly, I was like floored. I thought that it was gonna be trash, like the rest of family-friendly content that's out right now. Mm-hmm. And it was something I felt like they genuinely put care into. And everybody who watched Strange World or Lightyear last year, almost totally reported that they sucked. Yep. And they're also ideologically charged just enough to tip off the people who are sensitive to that, and they didn't want to see it either.
Yeah. Well, those people never actually spend money. The same thing happens in comics, where you make all your comics for a very small portion of the population, none of whom actually spend the money on the comics. Mm-hmm. They might buy an issue every once in a while and just to take a picture of it and share it on social media, but most of it is all hollow virtue signaling because they don't actually care about the art or the medium. I do think that having a Nintendo cinematic universe becomes ripe for corruption down the line, especially if it becomes as popular as the MCU.
I think one safeguard against that is the fact that they are Japanese.
Yeah.
Because I think that culture is so much less I don't know what to call it, woke. I'm sure they have their own version of it.
Was it them that came up with the term of Baitsua, or was that
I thought that was a Chinese term.
Or was that Chinese? But
there's a similar, and I think kind of warranted disdain for how precious Western people are about their, their little individuality and their,
complaining about everything,
their identities.
When they're born into a country of the utmost privilege.
Yeah, their tendency to complain when they're in a very comfortable position. Yep. And about, gender identity and all of these, like, I don't know, Me Too and just all of this confusion. And I think, like, there are Eastern cultures that don't have any such confusions and therefore don't have those roadblocks in the way of just wanting to make a profit.
It's also funny, too, because Disney tacitly admitted that what they were doing wasn't working because they did announce Toy Story 5, which will also probably end up being, just as bad. But they're going to go back and they're going to bring back Tim Allen. They're going to bring back... they're not going to...
Tim Allen is not that...
they don't like Tim Allen.
Yeah, he's not that well liked by
Disney.
Woke Hollywood,
Yeah.
But it's just like constant regurgitations. And then finally, when they do what they're advised to do, which is make a new story with new characters, it has to be, here's a child whose sexuality is one of the main plot points of the movie. And it's like this very clearly calculated, diverse cast of characters that appeal to adults only when it's supposedly a children's film. It's just whack. I don't think children like this.
I do think that they should avoid. I would rather they didn't make a cinematic universe of any sort. I'd rather Nintendo just made good movies and keep the freedom to make them separate and not connect everything.
No, yeah, not everything needs to be connected.
They've got this right here on screen. So they've got Super Mario Brothers and then Detective Pikachu 2. Unfortunately, it's not called Electric Boogaloo. That'd have been fantastic. Zelda, Star Fox. So I was right about Star Fox. Earthbound, Super Mario Brothers 2, and then Metroid, and then they're going to do Super Smash Brothers. So I guess Super Smash Brothers is like the Avengers.
Yeah,
that's kind of clever.
Yeah, kind of. I worry only because video game adaptations have been such a disaster.
Yeah, but
on a routine basis,
the ones that are more for kids seem to do better. So Detective Pikachu did fine. Sonic, people loved. Sonic 2, people liked. Like somebody
even
made
Wreck-It
a comment.
Ralph was good. Yeah, and the sequel sucked.
Somebody made a comment. They said they don't realize how much lore there is to. They were talking about us because we talked about a little bit of this stuff on Friday about how much lore there is behind Sonic, and there's a ton of, much like a lot of people might not realize like that Power Rangers has become its own thing for like 30 years. Sonic has tons of lore behind it, but when you're making movies for kids, Sonic did a good job of putting Easter eggs in there that the parents would like or love, and that the kids might understand, but it wasn't necessary for the story. It didn't matter
in the movie.
Yeah. In the movies. So, for me, I think that this is the way to go. But just disconnect the movies. Do you think that we're going to eventually reach a point here where superhero movies will fall to the back burner if they keep making poor ones the way they are? There's the argument to be made that we are not in the middle of superhero fatigue. We're just watching bad movies, and that people will go see movies when they're good.
I mean, you lose trust with an audience after consistently.
When it's consolidated down to just one or two companies, then the trust carries from movie to movie. Whereas back in the day, 2 or 3 companies could make a bad action movie, but the 4th action movie doesn't necessarily mean it was going to be made by the same company. So you haven't lost the trust you've lost when it's consolidated down to just Warner Brothers or just Disney.
Right.
Meaning Marvel and DC.
Yeah. I guess it's not necessarily superhero fatigue, but...
Well, I think people are just sick of bad movies and are sick of movies. Like, it's really funny. I watched this great video. Guys, there's an amazing video where Zach from Comics Matter points out that, do you remember when we talked about Ike Perlmutter and the guy who, okay. And how like, people just don't like that guy. They don't know why they don't like him, but they don't like him. And he got out of Marvel movies. Like, he stopped being involved in Marvel movies, like right when they started going bad. But people can't figure out why they don't like him. And it turns out he's given like hundreds of millions of dollars to like gender affirming care. And so he's actually like socially liberal, fiscally conservative, but people just heard that they don't like him. They don't know why, but they just hate the guy. And he also
people
like people on Twitter who complain about anything to do with Marvel that isn't Kevin Feige, right? So they didn't like him because he was an executive and he literally got Marvel out of bankrupt. Like, he sold Marvel to Disney. So in a way he saved the comic book industry from dying by keeping it alive and selling it to Disney. And also he gives money he gave like $100 million to the Innocence Project. So he's like,
what is the Innocence Project?
It's like to help people who are wrongly accused.
Clef the Misfit said, "How are they going to make an Earthbound movie for kids? Ness literally has to rescue Paula from a cult, and at some point they enter an LSD trip, Forside, where they're attacked by surrealist paintings and fire hydrants."
It could be one of those things where that one might get a different rating than the rest of them. That's an interesting thing. Does anybody know in the chat? I don't know off the top of my head if all the Marvel movies got blanket PG-13 ratings. Were there any PGs in there, or were they all just generically PG-13? I think they were all just generically PG-13, whereas they might not be able to do that with Earthbound. Maybe that ends up being PG-13 while the rest of them are PG. Also, did G-rated movies even exist anymore? When was the last time you heard of a G-rated movie?
It's been a while, but I guess it's not relevant to me anymore.
Yeah, but I can't even remember the last time I saw a G-rated movie
kids
advertised.
growing up who weren't allowed to watch PG movies.
Yeah.
Not PG-13, but PG. Like, they could only watch G. I don't know if G exists anymore, but that's a good question. Wait, what were you
okay,
talking about?
I was talking about Ike Perlmutter and Marvel, but what I want to talk about for the rest of this is, do you think that this will be the type of thing where eventually we'll just be seeing more video game movies, as long as they're the ones for kids, and maybe the TV shows are where the adaptations for adults go? The longer form stories, right? Like, somebody pointed out that they are working on a Metal Gear Solid movie that got pushed for COVID reasons. Stuff like that. So,
if it's aimed at kids, it's not as ideologically charged. If it's aimed at adults, they immediately think, like, we need to take those incels down a peg and ruin the IP that they love. For Mario Bros, that's clearly not the case. Something funny, I was looking at frozen pizzas at the grocery store the other day, and they put all of these, like, video game related promotions on frozen pizza boxes and Hot Pockets.
Mountain Dew too, kind of like Mountain Dew with game fuel.
Yeah, it's a little bit insulting, but at the same time, I'm sure a lot of people are buying it and they're like, crap, I'm the target audience.
Like, I've become the target audience for
literally, it was like Assassin's Creed promo codes on, like, stuffed crust DiGiorno's.
I'm so hungry now. Now I want stuffed crust DiGiorno. Somebody says that Deadpool is rated R, but Deadpool was not MCU. Deadpool was 20th Century Fox before Marvel bought it, so it wasn't technically part of the MCU. Obviously, Blade was before the MCU was a thing. I don't know, man. It's like, I think video game movies end up, in the next 5 to 10 years, they end up surpassing it. I
video game movies
changes.
that aren't based on existing IPs have done well, though. Like, Free Guy did well.
Free Guy was great.
Wreck-It Ralph did well, and that's not, to my understanding, I don't think that's based on a real game.
And I don't think that they should make a Free Guy 2. I don't think it needs to be made.
But that means it's something that, unlike superhero franchises, it is more easily adapted into new stories that don't need source material to... I mean, if you think about it, source material is a lot of baggage to carry going into a new project. Like, you don't want people to immediately get poisoned on the thing that you're making. So just stop using source material. Just make your own.
I mean, that's a lot of these smaller comic companies now are basically just, they don't even exist to tell good stories. They exist to be like pitches to Hollywood. Like, the stories are told with the idea that they're not going to remain stories on paper.
That's
that they're
where the
going
money
to.
is.
Yeah, that's because they want to get to where the money is. So it's sad.
Sort of like getting a book deal and writing a book just so that you can sell to Hollywood. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad.
Similar.
I mean, it's sad for the people that believe in the medium, that believe in the art being done, that it's done the way it is, right? Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.